Last time, we reviewed every single box in the game, so this time, it's time to review the structure decks. We will go through every single structure deck in the game, and give it a quick rating, tell you if it's good or not, and if you should spend your money or gems to buy them. Let's begin with the very first two structure decks in the game. Dragonic Force is a very old structure deck. The cards are pretty bad, and also a lot of the cards are actually reprinted. Stuff like Tyrant Wing is reprinted in a mini box. That means you don't need to get this structure deck to get it. And yeah, all the cards are pretty old and bad. Sorceress Alliance, same thing, all the cards are pretty old. It's a structure deck from 2017. The cards are very outdated, and even back in the day when it is first released, they aren't really good either. Okay, Hero Rising. Despite this being a very old structure deck, it does have one singular card that is still seeing play today, and that is Blazeman. It is an elemental hero monster that also searches a polymerization when it is normal or special summoned. So some hero decks play this card as a searcher for their poly. They will use their poly to make their sunrise and then search a miracle fusion and do all the combos from there. So yeah, this card is still seeing competitive play now, but the other cards are not really good. And also not all hero decks play Blazeman, only some of them do, so it's not essential. So you can get away from not buying this structure deck at all. Legendary Warriors. This is a warrior-based structure deck. The cards are also pretty old and not worth buying. Okay, finally we got to a actual good structure deck. Despite Destiny Rulers being quite an old structure deck, some cards in it still see heavy competitive play, like Vion. It is a polymerization searcher that also sends hero cards from your deck to the graveyard. Celestial is good in Destiny hero decks and also Block Tower decks that allow you to draw 2 cards. Drill Dart allows you to spam more Destiny hero monsters on your field to make Xyz plays, and also it has Piercing, which is useful sometimes. And Trinity is just a really good hero fusion monster that you can go with, and it also allows you to attack multiple times with its massive 5,000 attack. So if you're playing hero decks, this structure deck is basically essential. You want to buy 1 or 2 copies of this structure deck, depending on if you're planning to spend the money to get at least 1 copy of Vion. Dragonic Knight is another dragon structure deck. Its cards are pretty bad. None of them has seen competitive play. Paladin of Felgrand and the other Felgrand cards can make a pretty casual Felgrand deck, but those aren't really good anyway. And Archbrave Dragon is a reborn for dragons, but dragon decks don't really use this card for now. Okay, Spellbound Silence has Gold Sarcophagus. This card is very important in decks that want to banish their own cards like Metaphys, Thunder Dragons, but unfortunately it is limited to 2. So that means there is another card that is also really good in banishing decks that is also limited to 2, and that is Aloof. And that card is also really good, and you will have to choose between this card and that card when you have to play a banish. And also Aloof Lupine is an N rarity card from a main box, so that card is extremely easy to obtain. Keep that in mind if you want to try to get Gold Sarcophagus. You will have to pick between Gold Sarcophagus or Aloof. And also Silent Magician is good in some spellcaster decks as a spell negate. You can also cheat out a Silent Magician level 8 when it is destroyed. The cards in Synchro Connection are pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure this card is also available for free, so there's not much reason to buy this structure deck. White Dragon of Legend has some good blue eye support. In Dragon Spirit of White, it banishes a spell or trap card when it is normal or special summon, and also tags out a blue eyes from your hand. There are also some heretic cards in this box, but they are all reprinted in a later main box, so you don't have to get them from here. And also, Dragon Spirit of White is also available in another structure deck. So if you want to build blue eyes, this structure deck is also not that important anymore. Swordbound Silence has some Silent Swordsman support. It is not really good right now, but it is still a spell negate if you're planning to use this in warrior decks. The Noble Knight cards are again reprinted in main box, and the level up mechanic is just not really good, so there's not much reason to buy this structure deck. Okay, we are finally getting into some actual good structure decks. Ancient Gear Awakening is actually a good structure deck that you can buy free copies. So back in the day, this was the best structure deck in the entire game. that could build you an entire deck only by buying 3 copies of this exact structure deck. There are really good Ancient Gear support in this box. Ancient Gear Wyvern is a searcher for the archetype. Ancient Gear Frame searches your Ancient Gear Golem. Reactor Dragon is just a really powerful boss monster for the archetype. Gear Town and Ancient Gear Fortress helps you summon your hard to summon Ancient Gear monsters directly from your hand or deck. And you also have Planet Pathfinder to search your field spell, and Double Cyclone to pop your opponent and your own back row. So if you really want to play Ancient Gears, this is the structure deck for you. Though it is not nearly as good as it was before, it is still playable, and if you're a fan of the archetype, definitely buy the structure deck. Neos Fusion has 2 good cards in the entire structure deck, Neos Fusion and Brave Neos. You will summon Brave Neos using Neos Fusion, which allows you to use materials from your deck. And Brave Neos only requires a Elemental Hero Neos and 1 level 4 or lower effect, which means you can mill any single level 4 or lower effect monster from your deck using Neos Fusion. And that is very useful for a lot of decks, and is also even more useful in hero decks because they're all hero monsters. But you will need 3 copies of Neos Fusion to get its full potential, so if you don't plan to spend money on structure decks, maybe don't buy this structure deck because 1 copy of Neos Fusion is helpful. Return of the Red Eyes is the best structure deck for new players. You only need 1 copy of this structure deck and you can build an entire beginner deck for your new player needs. It has a Red Eyes Fusion. Even though you can only get 1 copy if you're only buying 1 copy of this structure deck, you can still search it with a Red Eyes Insight, which is free to obtain with your SRT. So unlike a Neos Fusion, this card is a lot easier to search. And the monster you will be summoning is a Red Eyes Dragon, which is a powerful boss monster which prevents your opponent targeting this card or other cards that you control. Red Eyes Wyvern helps you summon back your Red Eyes monsters from your graveyard. Archfiend of Lightning is a powerful monster that allows you to wipe your opponent's board, which has a lower defense than its attack. And if you're playing Toon monsters, Red Eyes Toon Dragon is also a card that you need to play. Return of the Red Eyes is a very powerful trap that allows you to summon a Red Eyes for every single turn. So if you are a new player and want to build a cheap deck that can help you clear your stage missions, help you farm, help you play low rank, this is the structure deck to get. Full Metal Desperado used to be really good because of this card, Desperado Barrel Dragon. It is a Dark Machine monster. When a Dark Machine type monster is destroyed, you can special summon this card from your hand, and it also allows you to toss coins to destroy your opponent's monsters. This card is just a lot less good right now because of power creep, but it is still a strategy that you can definitely play. Master of Chaos has 1 very important monster, which is Keeper of Dragon Magic. It is a searcher for any polymerization or fusion spell card, so it can help you search your Neos Fusion or just any fusion spell card you want to have in your hand. It used to be limited, but now it is unlimited, so you might want to consider getting 3 copies of this card if you want to search your fusions. Dark Cavalry, really powerful fusion monster if you're trying to play Dark Magician, but 1 copy of this card will be enough. Advanced Ritual Art is good in certain ritual decks, but you don't really need it, and that's pretty much it. You will probably only want to buy 3 copies of this structure deck only if you are playing a Neos deck, playing Neos Fusion, then you can use your Keeper of Dragon Magic to search it. King's Resonance mainly has Assault Mode, and the Side Reflector is a 1-card Synchro that can make a level 6 to 9 Synchro monster. So if you are interested in playing a Synchro deck, like something like Crystron's, then you might want to consider using this engine inside. But be careful that you will have to also play 2 other cards, Assault Beast and Assault Mode Activated, which might clog your hand if you draw them. Powerful Rebirth is good in decks like Magnet Warrior, so if you don't want to go back to the old boxes to get it, you can also get it from this. And I should also mention that Assault Modes are pretty bad as a deck, so I wouldn't suggest getting an Assault Mode deck to play. Dragunity Overdrive has some really nice Dragunity support. Most importantly, Sonatas, which gets you a Dragunity tuner directly from your deck and equips it to itself. While Dragunity itself isn't very good right now, it is still somewhat competent, and if you are planning to build a Dragunity deck, you will definitely need 3 copies of this structure deck. Gladiator Storm has Gladiator Beast support. The archetype is pretty bad in dueling, but it does have Unexpected Die in it. So if your deck plays normal monsters that you want to summon from your deck, you might want to get Unexpected Die from Disc, or you can just get it from Dream Tickets. If you're playing a hero deck that plays masked heroes, you'll want to maybe consider getting this box to get your mask change instead of going back to the old box. But this box does not have your Anki, so if you want to play Anki, you will have to either go back to the old box or get it through Dream Tickets. And the other cards in this box aren't really good even in hero decks, so you don't actually need this structure deck if you're playing heroes. Return of the Fire Kings has a bunch of Fire Kings and Nephi support. While they're not competitive anymore, they're still a really fun deck to play, and it has all the Fire King cards that you will ever need. And you can build an entire Fire King deck using only this structure deck and another mini box that has the remaining Fire King. So if you are willing to spend a bit of money as a new player, you might also want to consider play Fire Kings. Gaia Exceeds used to be good because of this single card. Because Onomats used to be tier 1, but they're no longer tier 1 after their skill was nerfed. So this box is kinda bad now. Tales of the Noble Knight has a bunch of really good Noble Knight support. They're actually still decent to this day. So Noble Knights used to be tier 1, while they are no longer tier 1 right now, they're still quite decent. You can build an entire Noble Knight deck only using this structure deck 3 times, and the main box that has the remaining Xyz monster. Blue Eyes Evolution, a really good structure deck for Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes are decent right now, and this structure deck has the most important Blue Eyes cards like White Stone, Cards of Continents to draw cards, and Dragon Spirit of White is also available from this structure deck, so you don't have to go to the old one that is actually bad. It has Eyes of Blue tuners, Ultimate Providence, and instead of one Ultimate Providence in the Dragonic Overdrive box, you could get 2 here. This is a really good counter trap. And also Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, even though this card is available from the skill, you can also play this as an additional copy in your deck. And Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, that means you don't have to go back to the old boxes to get this card, because you only need 1 copy of this card. Stardust Nexus is absolutely crucial if you want to play Synchron. Synchrons as a deck aren't really good, but if you want to play Synchrons, you definitely need 3 copies of this structure deck. It has a Junk Synchron, it has Junk Converter that searches your Synchron, it has your Stardust Dragon, Formula Synchron, and also Junk Warrior. So you don't have to get to the old structure deck to get the Junk Warrior, you can get it from here. Junk Archer is a good card as a removal, and Junk Anchor is the card that would summon it. If you are willing to spend money to buy 3 copies of a structure deck, this is probably one of the best structure decks that you can get. Rise of Gaia does not need any other main boxes or mini boxes, you just need 3 copies of this structure deck and immediately you can build a Gaia deck. Even though Gaias aren't really good right now because they are very fragile, but it is still a really quick deck that you can build by only using 3 copies of this structure. It has your cards like Gaia the Magical Knight to summon your Curse of Dragonfire, your Galloping Gaia to search all of your cards, and your boss monster is Gaia the Magic Knight of Dragons. It has a quick effect that destroys cards by lowering its attack. Evil Domination is a disappointment. Even after Adusted Gold is released, the deck is still very bad. Evil Heroes just aren't good enough, and this structure deck is just not worth buying. Magician's Arc has some Pendulum support, but if you are playing All Dies, you will only need 1 single structure deck of this to get 1 singular Dragon Pulse Magician, because you can summon this card with your Ebon Illusion Magician, and it allows you to banish a card your opponent controls. And other than that, the other cards aren't really useful. When DDDs were meta, this structure deck used to be a really good way to get your hands on Swirl Slime and its Searcher, which is Dark Contract of the Gate. But as you can see here, they are both limited to 3 right now, so the deck is a lot less good than it used to be, but it is still competitive. And because the other cards in this structure deck aren't really that useful, you can get away with only buying 1 copy of this structure deck and going back to the other boxes to get the remaining DDD support. So you don't actually need 3 copies of this structure deck, but Cyber Style Extreme is a very good structure deck if you want to play Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragons itself aren't really competitive right now, but if you want to play Cyber Dragon, you will definitely need Cyber Dragon Core, Cyber Low Fusion, Cyber Dragon Nova, Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, and of course, the OG Cyber Dragon. So if you want to build a quick Cyber Dragon deck, the best way is probably just to buy 3 copies of this structure deck. Sword of Paladin is another absolute disappointment. Even as a recent structure deck, its cards are absolute garbage, except for Magicians, which you can also get from a mini box. This structure deck is supposed to use along with a skill that allows you to summon your Dark Paladin a lot more easier, but the skill is absolute garbage, so the structure deck is also absolute garbage. Tellarknight Advent is a really good structure deck. It has your Tellarknight supports, it even has your most important Satellarknight Searcher, it has your Triver and your Dark Tellarknight, and if you want to build a Satellarknight deck, which is still pretty good, you only need 2 copies of this structure deck, and then go back to the Shining Hope box to get the remaining Tellarknight support. So you don't even need 3 of this structure deck, you only need 2. Okay, Brave Hope is an interesting one. So this structure deck was released along with another skill that allows you to make Ultimate Leo Utopia Array really easily, but the deck isn't really competitive. It is very fragile, it loses to Disruption, it's very bad going second, so in a competitive standpoint, Utopias just aren't really good. But if you're a fan of Utopias or Onomats, this structure deck does have your Utopic Onomatopoeia, your Gaga Sister, Gugu Glove, and number 39 Utopia. Ruddy Rose Burning used to be a really good structure deck, but its skill got nerfed and Rox Rose Dragon also got limited. The deck is still quite good even to this day after all the nerfs, so if you have a number of other staples to go along with this deck, this Rose Dragon structure deck is definitely not bad. Finally, we have our Link structure deck, Cyber's Code. This structure deck mainly has one very important code talker support, which is Microcoder. If it is used as a link material for a code talker monster, you can search a Signet spell trap from your deck to your hand. It also allows you to use itself as a material from your hand, which means if you search it with a card like Lady Debug, you can immediately link it away with it in your hand and get a search from it. If you're playing code talkers, you'll definitely need this card. It's best to have at least 2, but you can get away with 1 because it is quite easily searchable. So unless you really like code talkers, actually 1 of this structure deck is already enough for a casual code talker deck. So that's basically it. That's all of the structure decks covered so far. So I hope this little guide helped you pick between good and bad structure decks to invest in, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.